So welcome to Montreal Rocks. And today we're very happy to have with us in studio Daniel Seligman from POP Montreal. We're very excited to have a nice festival coming back to our city. It's been a hard year for many in the music industry. Coming to us in Montreal, September 22nd to 26th, 2021. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Randall. Great to be here.
Thanks. One of the things I like to start with, and I often ask this question for musicians, but since you were so deep into the music scene, being a manager, booking for venues, and of course, as a festival organizer for 20 years, I cannot believe it. 20 years, that's a good celebration. You're out of your teens finally with POP Montreal. There's oftentimes in a person's life where music is something that we just hear from our parents. It's something that is just in the background. But at a certain point, there's maybe a song or a genre or a specific band where music goes from something we hear to something we feel right in our heart. What was that for you?
Yeah, for me, probably wasn't a specific artist or song, but hip hop music in the early 90s when I was kind of coming of age as a young teen really spoke to me. So that golden era of rap, artists like Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Pharcyde, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy really spoke to me. And I kind of went from a casual fan of music to someone who really, really started digging deep into kind of the significance of what music meant to people. And it kind of, through hip hop, I started, collecting vinyl and getting into samples and soul and funk and reggae. So it was kind of like, that was kind of my dive into becoming like a hardcore fan of music, and which eventually, not directly, but definitely influenced the way I approached music as a promoter and manager and, someone involved in the industry.
And I think if you're going to be in this business, you've mentioned yourself on other occasions, it's a tough business. And if you're not in it for the love, I think you even said sometimes you do stuff behind the scenes, you don't get no appreciation for. Nobody sees all the hard work that goes behind managing a band or promoting an event. But there you are doing it year after year. So there's definitely has to be this deep love behind it. Now we know why.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's a huge point. I don't think, especially nowadays, I don't think too many people are going into the music business just to simply, make a living or make money. With the kind of downfall of record sales, you really have to, more than ever, love what you're doing. And it is fun, and it's kind of like there is a lot of thankless work, but there's a lot, there's a lot you can get out of it, especially if you're into live performance. Putting on a show is a special experience, even though if you're not an artist, just as someone who enjoys live music, being involved in the whole production of a show or a tour, or even like putting out an album, it's a rewarding experience for sure.
Definitely. And since you're organizing a festival, this is a whole other ballgame. I mean, a tour or booking a couple shows is one thing, but doing a festival with so many different artists is quite an undertaking. Do you remember your first festival that you attended? Maybe a memory from that festival?
I think the first festival I attended was probably Lollapalooza in I don't know if it was like 91 or 2.
Headlining, I'll let you know.
I think it was Pearl Jam.
Oh, that's the second one. I was at that one.
Yeah. That was wild. I mean, I think I was 15 or 16 at the time. And yeah, it was super fun. I didn't I went with a bunch of friends. I think it was definitely like one of those teenage experiences, like driving up with the guy that drove us he's actually this guy named Colin Lewis, he works for Live Nation and was a booking agent for a long time. He's living in LA right now, but we went to high school together, so we all drove up. And I think we got a hotel room and partied, probably more than we should have at the time, but it was a lot of fun. And it was a great experience just being a huge crowd and walking around and hearing all this amazing music and seeing all these bands that you had listened to over the years. It was pretty cool.
I don't know if you went to the Long Island one. That's the one I was at, but in New York City. But that was the festival that really broke through and changed the way people looked at festivals. It was no longer just a couple bands sharing a bill. This was a full day. There was events in the background, and I think you probably took a lot of inspiration from that, because your event obviously is not just a couple days, not just a couple venues, but it's spread across the whole city of Montreal. You've got private lofts, secret shows, you've even done, the Bell Center all the way to a small venue. There's a lot of variety in Pop Montreal, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not directly similar in terms of format, because Lollapalooza is a big outdoor festival. But yeah, I think just the kind of mix of cultural events, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Lollapalooza was definitely a blueprint for alternative culture in the 90s. Pop itself was kind of structured more similarly to a festival like South by Southwest in Austin. That's kind of like the big, alternative indie showcase, multi-venue, club crawl, like underground get together. That's kind of the big one in Austin. And I started going to that. I think the first one I had gone to was maybe a year or two before I started Pop Montreal. And I think South by has been around for over 35 years.
Well, one of the things that you've mentioned before, which I really liked, is that you started this festival, Pop Montreal, to be a different, because it was kind of a reaction to other festivals, that the way that you've designed it, to give both the bands and also the fans this kind of different experience, not just another showcase festival. What was that? Why was that important to you?
Well, at the time I was I was 25 at the time. I was fairly naive. I wasn't coming at it from, like an industry background perspective. I had just started working with my brother's band, Stars, who were like starting out at the time. And I had been to a couple of the industry events. Might have heard of them. Still kicking. So yeah, we had been to a few, like CMW, North by Northeast in Toronto, CMJ in New York, South by Southwest in Austin. And there was always there was something about those events that felt disconnected from like the artist fan experience. And it felt more like a kind of jaded event for industry, veterans who would stand at the back, and then, the artists were like cattle being escorted out. And it didn't really feel like the natural way and the best way for musicians and artists to kind of come together. And then coupled with the fact that we were in Montreal, it was like not a big industry city. It wasn't, New York or Toronto or LA. Like it was a different feel. Montreal's, I think even now still feels more of like an art-centric city, art over commerce. And so, we wanted to kind of reflect what the scene was like in Montreal at the time and take a different perspective. Not to say that industry isn't welcome, like, of course, but we didn't want to put them on a pedestal. I think we wanted to make it about the music first, and, the relationship between musicians and fans.
Yeah, Pop Montreal really seems like our own festival. It doesn't seem like it's somebody else coming here. It's local grown. Mm-hmm. I was interested in the fact that you chose the word pop to describe this festival, because obviously pop normally in music stands for popular, but your festival really highlights all these unpopular artists, maybe now soon to be popular, emerging artists. So what do you think it takes to take an artist and get them to pop out of obscurity?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting play on words, because I do think like one of the meanings behind the word is like popular music is music made by people kind of, outside of like a traditional classical institutional realm. And so there's so many different forms and genres of popular music. Anything from heavy metal to punk to electronic. So in that sense, pop just is that the overall encompassing term, like the umbrella term for like the different styles of music. And then you get into like popular, commercial, what those means. And then you have, like emerging artists, pop bands who, when they start, are like underground, not popular. And then 2 years later, they're the biggest band in the world. So that's kind of the trajectory. But yeah, I think pop kind of encapsulates all of that. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean like playing the same songs on 92.5, every day. It can be more than
96.
Yeah.
So you're obviously very good at finding talent. Your skills at going deep to really find those emerging artists is really renowned. Where is your gold mine to find this emerging talent? Where do you go to discover bands and artists?
Well, recently I haven't been going anywhere because of COVID, but I mean, generally I would go to different showcase events across Canada and North America. I've literally traveled all over the world, from Taiwan to Brazil to Norway, the UK, Argentina. Like I've done a lot of different travels to music festivals. So that's one way to discover music. Obviously, the majority of it is happening in Montreal or, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, like the bigger cities in Montreal, or in Canada. So there's a lot of incredible talent happening right here. And it's just a matter of kind of paying attention and listening and talking to friends and other musicians. I think that's the main thing, is just being connected to the various scenes in like individual cities. I think we're extremely lucky. There's a youth culture here. There's 4 major universities. There's people, it's a multicultural city. There's people who are from all around the world. There's people who are constantly coming to Montreal. So there's always new, interesting perspectives and sounds. And so, yeah, I mean, we're open. We have an open submission process. So we always discover a lot of incredible bands that we didn't know about. So between, traveling, listening to music, talking to people, trying to stay connected, accepting submissions, I mean, that's kind of the recipe, and we do our best. But I mean, there's always new music to be discovered. So that's one great thing about life and music and culture. It's always happening.
I think what's important about to realize about Pop Montreal is it's a curated list of emerging bands. Mm-hmm. That's really a good definition for it. And also, you take a well-established bands and put them maybe in a different situation, like Laurie Anderson last year. Put them together with the musicians of a different genre and make a new of event that was not only great for the artists but great for the fans too.
Yeah, I mean, with Laurie, there has to be a willingness. She's the kind of artist who, at the stage of her career, I think she's interested in that kind of collaborative process with younger musicians. And we did something similar with Patti Smith when she came to town. So that's always super exciting, incredible when you have an artist of that caliber who's interested in making those connections and collaborating with a newer generation of artists. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. It's like, we're looking for new, interesting, cool music. We don't want cookie cutter band. I mean, those bands are welcome to make their music, but that's not what we're looking for with pop. We're looking for something new and different. Like, we're looking for the next sound. We don't want a band to sound exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's gotta. So that's kind of where, that's the most important thing. It's just how listening for sounds that are new and interesting and fun.
Let's talk about the festival. If you have to choose 5 must-see shows this year, which would they be? Obviously, we don't have.
I would maybe start with the SUUNS show and Dishwasher at Rialto Theater on the Saturday night. The Backxwash show on Sunday. At l'Entrepôt 77, we're doing this new venue that we've kind of started up this summer. It's on Bernard, just east of Saint Laurent. It's this old warehouse that burned down, and so but there's this kind of like outdoor structure that remained. So we're doing a bunch of shows there. We have Cakes da Killa, who's performing on the Thursday night. Great lineup, DJ SB, a bunch of really cool stuff. Militime, Shades Lawrence is on that bill. This show on the Friday at Rialto Theater, it's kind of like a hootenanny show with a bunch of local alternative folk country musicians. We have Katie Moore, Lil Andy, Sin and Swoon, and then their super group called El Coyote are performing. And then at the end, we're doing the Firemen, which is kind of like a mix of all those musicians playing classic country tunes, like cover tunes. So that should be super fun. What else? Yeah, the Wren is a new artist from Montreal. She signed to Secretly Canadian. She's performing on the Rialto rooftop. So yeah, there's not too much this year because of COVID. It's stripped down, so everything's accessible. The ticket prices are all between like $5 and $20. So you know, there's a lot for everyone to see.
Yeah, and even some of the friends of Montreal Rocks, Fan Club Wallet, who just interviewed recently, DJ Hanara, all these and many more have been featured on the show. They're really great. Look forward to seeing those too. So 20 years, man. Congrats. Is there one standout moment in those 20 years that really comes to mind when you think about this journey that brought you here?
I think it would be impossible to pick one. I mean, there's been all kinds of like incredible musical moments and shows and things where you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. I mean, to me, the best part is that, you know, I've been able to work together with so many people to create this event and keep it going and keep it sustaining and contribute to the culture in Montreal and Canada, the world. So, I mean, that's the main thing for me, is that, you know, we're able to kind of create this every year. We're a nonprofit, you know, there's no big corporation behind us. And we've tried to, you know, stay true to our roots of being kind of like the little kid on the block trying to stir stuff up.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. We look forward to POP Montreal, September 22nd to 26th. And get your tickets now. There's probably a limited supply because of the smaller sizes. So make sure you participate, support the venues, support the local artists and the international artists if there are any that are coming. And we look forward to seeing this happen. And we wish you so much success at another year to make it to that legal age, the legal drinking age of festivals, 21.
Great.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Randall. Appreciate it.